And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And this is our last segment for the evening. And again, I want to thank everyone who's listening, and I want to thank our Facebook audience who are watching on Facebook Live. So the next and final topic of the night I want to talk about is that not all real estate agents are created equally. And, you know, there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that the one thing that I learned about real estate is that a lot of homeowners don't really appreciate the differences that real estate agents or the different experience levels that real estate agents have. I think because real estate is an interesting industry. It is very relationship based. I think that instead of vetting people on, what's their education level, what's their experience level, what's their marketing plan, people put more value in the fact that they know you or that they've heard of you. And, in some ways that's good, in some ways that's bad. It's kind of like, who do you want to represent you? You want, Aunt Thelma who does one or two, sales a year, or part-time Patty who, she doesn't do it very much, or Bob from the gym who you met on the pet deck, who has happens to sell, does real estate on the side, or our new agent Timmy. You want him to do it, But I mean, here's the deal: when you're shopping for anything else in the world, you will research, you will do everything. I mean, if you're buying a new computer, you'll probably spend days and weeks going through analyzing all the statistics, trying to find out what the best computer is, what's the best specs, and and computers are expensive. They can range in price from $1,000 to $3,000 or whatever. But you'll put a lot of time in that. But the moment you go to sell your $500,000 or $600,000 house, you just go with, hey, I happen to know this guy over here. I'll just go with him. And here's what I'm telling you: not all real estate people are the same. We all have different abilities, we have different knowledge, backgrounds, and experience, and we have different personalities. And one of the things that I think is really, really important is finding a real estate professional that matches your personality and that has the knowledge and experience and the educational background and the marketing plan that's going to best represent you during this during the listing of your home, or buying a home for that matter, because purchasing a home is very, very important. I get a lot of calls in my legal practice. Most of you know that in addition to being a real estate broker and a mortgage broker, I'm also an attorney. So I'm kind of all three, and a radio show host. So I have 4 things that I do. And, it's really, really important that when you're buying a house that you get quality representation, because one of the things that people call me for the most in my legal practice is when they're very upset with their agent. And it's either their buyer's agent or their listing agent. But lately, it's been a lot of people who are very upset with their buying agent for one reason or another. And so, and I always ask them, well, how did you find the agent? And the answer is like, well, it's my wife's cousin, or, I met him at the gym, or, it's as I said, my Aunt Patty. It's always something like that. And it's kind of like, here's the first thing I tell you. Never mix business and family. Selling, and make no mistake about this, selling your home is a business. You need to separate that, because putting money in between your family relationship will affect you. And it affects it. I'm telling you, you should sit in my office for a week, maybe 2, sit there and listen to me field these calls. And one of the most frequent calls is, well, when I ask her, well, who represented you? Well, it used to be my best friend. And I said, what do you mean used to be? Well, I think he just pushed this through. He didn't do a very good job of representing me, and I think he would just cared more about the commission than he did for me. Very frequent statement that I hear, whether it be about a best friend or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin. This is what I hear a lot. So here's what you do: don't don't have a relative represent you. Just don't do it. You know, I was on the CW6 a few years ago, and I was being interviewed by Heather Myers, and Heather asked me after, because I told her on TV, I said the same thing. Don't have your friends or relatives, don't use your friends and relatives in real estate. So after the segment was over, when we were off camera, she asked me, she said, Michael, she goes, would you use your friends and family? She goes, tell me the truth. Wouldn't you take it? And I said, absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. Because most of the time when you do that, I said, they expect more. They want you to pay less, and then if anything goes wrong, it's always your fault. And we're not talking about just finger pointing. We're talking about telling everybody in the family at Thanksgiving dinner that you screwed them over, that you didn't do it right. It just causes way too much turmoil, way too much tension. It's better for you just to separate yourself. And I know everyone's going, well, that's going to upset my friend or my family. Well, you know what? It's better for you to explain to them, I don't want to jeopardize our relationship over business. And because you can talk to somebody who is kind of a third party better and more businesslike than you can your best friend or your uncle or your aunt. So don't do that. The other thing I want you to do is when you're hiring a real estate agent either to represent you in the purchase or a listing, I want you to interview them. I want you to interview at least 3, and I want you to really vet them. And I want you to ask them about their experiences. I want you to ask them about their educational background. I want you to ask them about their marketing plan. Those are 3 very important things that you need to vet. You need to distinguish the 3, and take notes on each one, because I think you'll find it interesting if you do pursue those those avenues of questions. I think you're going to find that a lot of times the people that you thought might have been the most qualified might not be the most qualified, and that someone that you might not have even thought about might be the person that's right for you. So you're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of MichaelGaddis.com, and we're talking about why not all real estate professionals are created equally. Take myself, for example. I'm by education, I'm a lawyer. I'm a real estate broker and a mortgage broker. I firmly believe that having someone who understands finance is a really, really big thing. Finance, even though they're not going to be doing the loan for the person, it's easier. Say, for example, you get 10 offers on the table. It's much easier if you have somebody who really understands to vet those offers, to make sure that you're getting the best offer, and to try to kind of weed them out, so to speak. Because having a knowledge of finances, you don't necessarily have to have an NMLS, but having an agent that has a strong financial background. So ask questions like that. So how well do you understand loans and things like that? And so that's another very important question to ask. So, but I think in general you should really treat it like an interview process. Get your 3, narrow it down, and then from there see which one has the better personality. Because you're going to click with somebody better than you're going to click with maybe someone else. And go with the person that you click the best with. Because if you can narrow down their qualifications and think that they're pretty much equal, go with the one that you get along with better. Usually that's a better case, because selling a house can be a stressful time. Because there are going to be ups, there's going to be downs. It depends on the type of market we're in. And if the market's slow, your house doesn't sell right away, you need to have somebody prepared and ready to adjust. Someone that can look and say, what do I need to do to try to stimulate interest? How do I need to go about, trying to get, the visits to your house increased? You need to find ways to do that, because I'm just going to be honest with you. Sitting there and having open houses all the time isn't the best way always to sell your house. There's a lot of other ways that you can do it besides just relying on that, because then you're just relying purely on drive-by traffic. Now, if you are going to have open houses as an agent, you need to make sure that you are marketing those heavily. You can advertise it on through the MLS. You can advertise it on Craigslist. You can advertise it through social media. There's a lot of different ways that you can try to drive traffic to that open house. But just having an open house by sticking a few signs up isn't the best way to do it. So that's what you really need to ask. You need to ask your real estate professional, what is your plan? What are you going to do? And I think that's important when you're listing your house. And when you're buying a house, I think you need to ask your agent, how experienced are you in representing buyers in transactions? Because the skill set needed between being a buyer's agent and a listing agent is different. You have to come at it from a completely different mindset. And the goal is obviously always to make a deal, find the best home, and make a deal. But what you want to do is make sure that you find somebody that can really be a strong advocate for you during the negotiation process. And I'm going to tell you something. The negotiation process just doesn't end when you get an accepted offer. You have to go through the inspections. You have to go through a lot of different things. You need somebody strong from A to Z. And I realize that there might be somebody that you like, someone that you might like to hang out with and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, who do you want when your back's against the wall? Who do you want when you've got people pressuring you and coming after you and forcing you to release contingencies, things like that? You want a strong advocate. So make sure that you interview everyone and just don't go with somebody just because you happen to know them from the gym or that they happen to be a relative of yours, as I mentioned. So just really, really, really vet the people, because not all real estate professionals are created the same. So I want to thank everyone for listening today. We're coming to the end of the show today. And I want to thank everyone who watched on Facebook Live. This is a new thing that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, is putting the show on Facebook Live. And as you probably know, right now if you're watching on Facebook Live, it's not 7 p.m. So there's a little secret. Sometimes we record the show. So if you're watching right now and looking on Facebook Live and not seeing it, you'll see the recorded show there. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening and watching. And I will be back here next Monday night, as I am every Monday night, talking about anything and everything related to real estate. You are listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.